This week's Torah reading begins, Vayeishev Yaakov be'eretz mugurei aviv. Jacob settled in the land of his father's sojournings. Then begins the story of Jacob's most favorite son, Joseph. Joseph's brothers become jealous of him because their father loves him the most and makes him a special tunic, the famous technicolored dream coat. Joseph then tells his brothers about some dreams that he had, which imply that one day they will bow down to him and they hate him even more. So they kidnap him, they nearly kill him, and they end up selling him as a slave to a caravan of Ishmaelites. Then they dip his special coat in animal blood and trick their father into thinking that Joseph must have been killed by a wild animal. Their father Jacob is devastated, of course, that his most beloved son was dead, or so he thought. Now, on a deeper level, this tragic story is hinting at how we can all get in trouble with ego. There are three things that Joseph does which hint at the way ego can sabotage the way we relate to reality and cause us great misery. The first is, Vayave Yosef dibatam ra'a el avihem. He brought bad reports about his brothers to their father. In other words, Joseph would tattle on his brothers and get them in trouble. On an inner level, this is hinting at the mind's tendency to constantly and spontaneously judge other people. Why do we do this? Because the mind is a judging machine. There's nothing wrong with that. We need to judge between poison and nourishment, between being kind and being a jerk. But the downside is that since that's what the mind does, it ends up being used by the ego, which wants to make itself feel superior by putting others down. The second is when their father Jacob made Joseph a special tunic, and Vayiru echav ki oto ahav avihem mikol echav vayisnu oto. The brothers saw that their father loved him the most, so they hated him. So here's Joseph wearing his special tunic, and this makes his brothers jealous. The key here is that what starts out as a symbol of his father's love ends up hurting him. And that's exactly what the roles we play in life can do to us if we hold them too tightly. The roles we play, parent, child, worker, friend, whatever, are like garments. They're not who we really are. So as long as we put them on and take them off as necessary, we're good. But if we mistake who we are for the garment, then the mind will constantly be referring to our role-based identities, and the spacious wholeness and bliss of who we really are will be completely covered up. Which brings us to the third example, Vayachalom Yosef Chalom. Vayosfu od seno oto. Joseph had a dream, and his brothers hated him even more. Joseph dreams that he's binding sheaves with his brothers in the field, and suddenly his sheaf stands up and all the others bow down to his. Next, he dreams that the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars were bowing to him, symbolizing his 11 brothers and his parents. This, of course, brings on more jealousy and negativity from his family. So what's this all about? I am continuously amazed that intelligent human beings who I love and respect can have such diametrically opposed points of view about various things. Religion, politics, or health, people seem to be chronically at odds with one another. Why? Again, it's because we tend to dream up different narratives about reality, and these different stories become the food for our ego. We identify with our stories, just like we identify with our roles, because that gives the ego a sense of purpose, and even more a sense of existence. Who would we be without all our dreamed up stories? The ego hates that question, and so it keeps us busy with judging things, with playing our roles, and arguing that our stories are the correct ones. But when we drop all that, there's a profound simplicity just in being. A simplicity that's profoundly rich, miraculous, and awesome. Then all that ego-created drama and restlessness can drop away. As it says, Vayeishev Yaakov ba'aretz, Jacob dwelled in the land. The land is this moment in which we find ourselves. The key is Vayeishev. Be aware of when the ego is playing its games, and gently but firmly bring your mind out of the ego-created thought streams And Vayeishev ba'aretz, connect with physical presence, with your senses, with sounds and sights, with the presence of your own body and the flow of your breathing. Then as you connect with what's actually present, rather than get carried away by ego-generated thought, you can begin to sense yourself as presence, as a vast openness of consciousness within which everything appears and disappears.